a wonderful friend that I met up with at the Lara Trump event, Kevin Scholla. He's going to be joining me in a couple of minutes, and we're going to be talking to him all about the Palin update. And we're going to be talking to him about his spot on Breitbart News. And also, he is the founder of Mama Grizzly Radio. He is good friends with Sarah Palin. Again, he was at the event supporting Lara Trump, and we are going to have him with us momentarily. So please stick around. Wanted to tell you that my new book, Julia Learns About the Very First Christmas, is going to be launching November 10th. November 10th. I will keep you updated at my Facebook page, Carla Didesi, my author Facebook page, Carla Didesi. I will keep you abreast of everything that's happening with my book launch. It's going to be happening live on Facebook at Carla Didesi on November 10th. So stick around for that. And Kevin Scholla is going to be joining us momentarily. So I told you that we were waiting for Kevin Scholla to join us this morning. We connected at Lara Trump's event this last Saturday, and I felt like I needed to have him on and share everything that he's doing to personally make America great again. So let me just tell you a little bit about Kevin Scholla. He's the host and creator of the Palin Update on Mama Grizzly Radio. If you have not checked out his website, you need to do so at www.mamagrizzlyradio.com. Each week, Kevin is interviewing an amazing guest. He's featuring hard-hitting commentary and provides the latest Sarah Palin news. He is also a columnist for Breitbart News. I know that so many of my families listening follow Breitbart News. You're constantly sending me information from them. Thank you for that. He covers Governor Palin and Breitbart sports. Kevin is a professional sports anchor, reporter, and announcer. He covers several pro and college teams. Thank you so much for joining us this morning, Kevin.
Carla, my pleasure. Thank you for having me and thinking of me.
So tell me, how did you connect with Sarah Palin and get this idea to do the Palin Update?
Well, I think largely what we're seeing with Mr. Trump right now, that populist feel, someone who isn't connected to a particular party per se, but to a particular idea and to fight for America. And I think that really started to take hold back in 2008 and probably before when Governor Palin was serving as a governor of Alaska. But when John McCain tapped her as the running mate, she really took the nation by storm, and people said, look at this as a strong woman who is out here talking like we talk at our kitchen tables and concerned about the things that families are concerned about. And so, right there, and I knew about her. I was one of the few that knew about her before I actually talked to people about hoping that she might have been the vice presidential pick, although I was stunned when he did do it and so ecstatic when McCain did choose her. But the point of the program was, after Obama won, unfortunately, in 2008, we were looking toward 2012. And, some had thought that Governor Palin might run for president that year. So my thought was, how can I help her get some coverage, but still fit it into my crazy schedule? As you know, Carla, my schedule is like yours, absolutely insane. Batman hours, as I like to put it. So here I am thinking, well, I'm already in the business. I'm a broadcaster. How about some sort of a radio program that will give people the real coverage of Governor Palin if and when she runs for president? So we got about 3 programs in. We had some great guests right off the bat. I want to say, and it may not be in order, but it was Steve Bannon, Jedediah Bila, and Newt Gingrich, and things were going wonderfully. And then Sarah Palin announced she was not going to run for president in 2012. And I sat there and I said, well, what am I going to do now? We started the program in 2011. I said, do we just can this, or do we go with it? And I said, you know what? She's not going anywhere. Her values aren't going anywhere. Let's keep it going. And here we are in 2016, and every week we have a wonderful guest. We tell you the latest things that Governor Palin is up to, and we keep that common sense conservative movement going on the airwaves. So it's a place to go to find out what's really going on, not only with Governor Palin and with some of the newsmakers, but also with people from all walks of life that we've had on the program, whether it be entertainment, sports, politics, regular Americans. The show runs the gamut, and I hope people will check us out.
So tell us what is happening with Sarah Palin right now. I know that we can go to mamagrizzlyradio.com and check it out, but what is she doing right now?
Well, as you probably know, she was one of the first really prominent conservative figures to endorse Donald Trump, and she took some backlash for that. A lot of people saying, well, she's not a conservative because she endorsed Donald Trump, and I mean, how laughable is that? One of the most conservative women in this country, a champion for conservatism, endorsed him early on when it wasn't necessarily the popular thing to do. And that's just so Palin-esque. And, her one book, Going Rogue, I mean, that really just sums her up. She didn't listen to the pressures from the Ted Cruz camp or the pressures from others to do other things or to stay out of it. She endorsed Donald J. Trump. And right now, she's doing, I think, what you and I are doing, and that's working really hard to make sure that the Trump-Pence ticket comes out on top in November. And Palin, has that unbelievable way, the mastery, really, something that Andrew Breitbart talked about so much, and I think Palin has perfected over the years, of being able to reach people through social media. I mean, Governor Palin tweets something or posts something on Facebook, and it's all over the place, in moments. And people tune in and really listen to what she's saying. And I think that, she's been able to fight for Donald Trump and for others who are running, Representative Gosar to name one in Arizona, and others that she has endorsed over the years. Other than that, Governor Palin is, being Governor Palin and taking care of her family and, keeping an eye on things. But she's calling them out left and right and middle and making sure that people are on the right track. And she is one that has been for this Trump campaign all the way through. And you can't say that about a lot of the latecomers or the Romney, Bush, Kasichs of the world who still aren't on board.
Correct. I know that's disgusting. So let's talk about, do you think that people are connecting with leaders like Sarah Palin and Donald Trump because they are actually leading by example? They're not following like all of the other career politicians. And I do like that Sarah Palin and Trump are conservatives first. I don't think that you can pretend that kind of conservatism, like, let's say, as a mom or a dad with your family. Like, they're even teaching those conservative principles to their families. Again, they're just leading by example. And I think that that's why families are connecting with people like Sarah Palin.
Well, we've had a lot of great guests on our show, including Governor Palin, of course, Donald Trump, and many, many others. But something that stands out to me to answer that question, Carla, is when Dr. Ben Carson was on the program, and to paraphrase what he said, this was way back when he called out Obama at the prayer breakfast with Obama sitting right by him, which really had Carson make that splash on the national scene. People knew him from his work as a surgeon, but I mean on the political scene. And I asked him, why is it so easy for you to go up there and say these things no matter who's in the crowd? And I'm paraphrasing again, but basically what he said was, because I'm speaking from the heart. I'm saying what I believe.
Right.
So, and I think that's what we get from Donald Trump, and that's what we get from Sarah Palin, and that's what we get from Mike Pence, because they're not teleprompter reliant like the Barack Obamas and Hillary Clintons of the world. You could actually ask them a question and agree or disagree. You're getting an honest answer from that person at that time. And I think that's why people who love Palin, people who love Trump, they are very, very loyal, because they know that it's not this nonsense that we see from politicians on both sides of the aisle. You ask them a question, they can't get back to you for 5 days until they read polls or ask Karl Rove.
Right. That's correct. I feel that Palin and Trump and Ben Carson and the like are very sincere and genuine. And do you think that families are also connecting with these leaders because they are correct and definitely not politically correct?
Well, families are connecting with them for that reason, and I think for another big reason. You can see tangible evidence of their families and the types of values they have. You look at Donald Trump right now, what do people always talk about? Even some folks who aren't so crazy about Mr. Trump, they're so impressed with his children because of the way they carry themselves. A lot of them still very young, by the standards of what they're doing, running these huge businesses and foundations. Not a scandal to be found, not a bad word to be found. And these kids come out and do such a wonderful job for their father. Same thing with Governor Palin. Her daughter, who's had some situations that have come up that have been tough in her life, choosing pro-life.
Yes.
You see her son in the military. Todd Palin, such a great, genuine guy and father first. And we've got to know Governor Palin's brother and sisters and her nephew, who's a comedian in New York City, and her dad and mom. I got to interview her mom for Breitbart. She wouldn't do radio because she doesn't like the sound of her voice, and she's the sweetest woman you could ever talk to. So you see how the tree, if you will, goes all the way down, not only in the Palin family, but in the Trump family as well. When you meet members of the family, not just the top dog, if you will, you see where it's at because everybody is on the same page. And what else is funny, and I've said this about Governor Palin, and I think you could say this about Donald Trump too, just add a lot of money on top of it, is that they are very ordinary people doing very extraordinary things.
Yes, which is what I hope for my children. I hope for myself. And I know that you probably pray the same thing for yourself. We're just very ordinary people trying to do extraordinary things or finding ourselves being placed in very extraordinary positions. So tell me a little bit about Breitbart. I want to ask your opinion about a few things. What did you think about the debate with the president? Do you think that Trump should come out strong? This Sunday evening, I think, is the next one. Is that correct? The next presidential debate?
Yes. I mean, we had such a great performance by Governor Pence earlier this week.
Yes.
Just really clobbering Kaine. It was one of the greatest debates, presidential or vice presidential, I've ever seen as far as an absolute blowout and contrast. Definitely those bold colors, not pale pastels in that one if you want to talk Ronald Reagan. But looking ahead to Donald Trump, yeah, I think he needs to definitely bring it a full blast on Sunday, and I think he will. And what I mean by that is, you have these two schools of thought, and it seems like people are on the extreme on both. Either, well, stay out of the mud, quote unquote, or go after her, talk about Lewinsky, talk about this and that. Well, I think there's a way that Donald Trump can do both of those things in the right way. You have to remember, okay, what Donald Trump did in that first debate, keeping away from some of the topics about Bill Clinton and Hillary's cover-up of Bill Clinton's escapades, that may be noble. That may be something you say, oh, isn't that great that the Republicans took the high road? But you have to understand who you're going against, okay? These are savages. This is an evil group here.
Yes.
Rand Paul has said many times the Clintons will stop at nothing to win. And we've seen it. We've seen what they've done not only to the Lewinsky and Flowers and Jones and the countless list of consensual paramours, but then you take a look at Juanita Broderick, who claims she was raped by Bill Clinton, and this is a 73-year-old Christian grandmother who's looking for no money. So why would she lie?
Right.
She's been on the program many times, and, just a wonderful lady who's gotten past it as best as she can, but also the scars are there. And, so there are ways to talk about these things, but also then bring it back to the real issues of what you would do as president. And Donald Trump has that way of doing it. So I think primary Trump needs to come out a little bit as far as the color, as far as the humor. A lot of people love what he is. My 8-year-old, we're watching a commercial the other day, 2 in a row blasting Trump. One was from Hillary, one was from some Democrat think tank. And my 8-year-old looked at me and said, Dad, was that bad what they said? Because it seemed almost like a Trump commercial. It was some of his lines toward people, and we were laughing. And you got to remember, if you call a person standing on the corner a name, that's one thing. But if you call someone a name who is trying to hurt our country or who is actually the thing you are saying, then that becomes truth, not just bombastic talk.
Right.
So I think that people need to understand that. If you're going after our country and you're going after our Constitution, you need to be like a Mama Grizzly and go after that person like someone's going after your kid.
Yes, correct. And as a woman, I get incensed that Hillary applauds herself as a champion for women because of all of those indiscretions that her husband had, where she had an opportunity to stand up and say, my husband's doing wrong, and stand up for the victims that her husband, victimized. She just sat quietly and covered it up. And you and I know that there's so many other cases where she just has not been a champion for women. And when we look at Trump, he is a champion with his own children, his daughters, his daughter-in-laws, his little granddaughters. I mean, if he brings that to every American woman, I would be thrilled, Kevin.
Well, they do this all the time. I mean, Hillary at the Democrat convention letting little girls know you can be anything you want to be. If they had to find that out from Hillary Clinton, then you're a pretty bad parent.
Right,
so,
right. She's not modeling the things that I want my 3 little girls to learn, lying, cheating, stealing. Those are things that I don't want them to do.
And they embrace this stuff all the time. They paint a narrative when it's convenient to push whatever it is they're pushing. You look at Tim Kaine in the debate earlier this week against Governor Pence. I mean, it was just laughable. The guy talks about being a Christian, and then he's, Mr. Abortion. The guy talks about the Constitution. He's supporting Barack Obama, who usurps it every chance he gets.
Correct.
He talks about saying that terrorism is on the decrease. I mean, right there, you could turn the TV off and say, all right, we're dealing with something here that is an untruth at best and more so a lie.
Maybe even insanity, the way they sound.
Oh, I mean, Tim Kaine, it's amazing how the left keeps wheeling out one after another that's worse. You can't believe it. I mean, you say, well, Obama, then Hillary, then Bernie, then Elizabeth Warren.
Is this the best they have?
You say it can't get worse, can it? And it does.
And it does.
You talk about the false narrative with Trump, with women, and you mentioned his family, which obviously is a good barometer. But then people can say, well, that's his family, other women, blah, blah, blah. Well, then why is Lynn Patton, who works for him, speak so highly of him? Why is his staff largely a lot of women, a lot of minorities? Why does people who have worked through him through pageants or television, and we're talking about women here, just love him and talk about all the wonderful things he's done for them? And just remember this is the biggest thing when it comes to women or race with Donald Trump. No one had a problem with him until he ran for president. Jesse Jackson spoke highly of him. Al Sharpton spoke highly of him. You didn't hear a peep or a complaint. And all of a sudden now, like they did to Herman Cain, like they've done to others, they come up with these things. And then they do it in the reverse too, Carla. Look at John McCain, look at George Bush, look at Mitt Romney. They crucified all of them. But now Romney's against Trump, so they praise Mitt Romney.
Right.
Bush has not endorsed him. They all of a sudden are George Bush fans, the guy who they say caused Katrina. They're all of a sudden on his side. Or John McCain when Trump and McCain had that back and forth. Oh, now they're on McCain's side. So you know how it works with the tolerant left. We're for you unless we disagree with you, unless you're a Christian or conservative, and most importantly, unless you're seeking power. If you're just a citizen and you play ball and you do this pro wrestling thing where the Republicans and Democrats pretend they're arguing and then they all go to the same country club, then you're okay. But as soon as you try to actually shake it up, like Sarah Palin, like Donald Trump, well, then we're going to go after you and your family, and anything goes.
Talk to us a little bit about the lie that the Trump campaign dislikes immigration. The man married 2 legal immigrants, right? With Ivana and then also with Melania. So talk to us about secure borders and why they're so important and why our country seems to be the only country in the world in existence that doesn't want a secure border.
Immigration is great. It is what we are founded on. We are a country of immigrants. That is wonderful. My great-grandmother came to this country on a boat by herself with a couple of bucks and married a guy in New York City, and the rest was history. And, you live the American dream. It is great. Again, legal immigration. There's ways to do it. It's not easy. But guess what? Some of the legal immigrants in this country, they know more about this country and love this country more than your, Occupy Wall Street basement dweller. That's for sure. We have Gabrielle Saucedo Mercer, who contributes to Mama Grizzly Radio. She's run for Congress in Arizona. No one is against illegal immigration more than her, or people who have gone through what they have to go through to get here the right way. And the thing is, the media and the left, they won't even say it. You look at the debate between Pence and Kaine, and the moderator kept saying undocumented. Okay, undocumented instead of illegal.
Right.
Instead of illegal. They won't even say the word. And you don't have to, look too far to find out what the problem is. I mean, people have been killed on American soil walking down the street by illegals. Meantime, Barack Obama and friends want to get them a better phone and cable package and driver's license and health care than you and I have. So, I mean, if you can't see that problem, then obviously there's no hope on getting a vote from a person like that.
This is Carla Tedeschi here at Your Family Matters with Kevin Scholla. For those who are joining us right now, Kevin Scholla is the host and creator of the Palin Update on Mama Grizzly Radio. And again, thank you all for joining us this morning. Kevin, tell us, what do you think of the moderators that have been chosen for the last two debates?
Well, I think, we kind of like how they write Trump loses before the debate even starts. We could write what's going to happen with the moderators before the debate even starts. I mean, Lester Holt, that was just despicable. I mean,
I thought we couldn't get worse than him.
Of the categories that he even talked about. I mean, people are getting their heads chopped off by ISIS, okay? People are looking for jobs, and he's talking about Barack Obama's birth certificate. He's interjecting to Donald Trump when he's trying to talk about our police. I mean, the agenda is there, and they don't know when to get out of the way. As far as Keanu, the categories were a lot better. It was a lot more substantial. But you can then look and see how the actual events went down. And it seemed every time Pence interrupted, she spoke to him like a kid at the grocery store who wouldn't take no for an answer when his mom wouldn't buy Fruity Pebbles. Meantime, when it's Kaine, she's letting him go most of the time. And if you notice, when was Pence interrupted by the moderator? As soon as he said the word server, twice, she jumped in and got him. So that's what you got to look for on Sunday with Mr. Trump. He's not going against Hillary on Sunday. He's going against Hillary, two bought and paid for moderators, and a hand-picked audience of supposed regular citizens. So Donald Trump needs to call that out. When a crazy question comes in, when slanted nonsense comes in, when they try to talk about issues that in the grand scheme of things mean nothing compared to what we really need to talk about, he needs to just cut them off, call him on it, and say what he wants to say.
Which I personally think he's really, really good at. And I think that that's why he beat out 17 people for the presidential nomination for the GOP, because he is a hard hitter. And I'd like to see him bring that back more on Sunday night as well. What do you think about the polls that we're seeing? Talk to my families about that a little bit.
Listen, Sarah Palin has said it best over the years. Polls are for cross-country skiers and strippers. And the reason that's true for the most part is because they're slanted. I think if you had actual polls with a good number of people and you went around and asked, that would be good, give you a little idea of what's going on. But half the time, when I see people who are like, oh, no, these polls, I always say to them, how many times were you polled? And they always say never.
Right.
Because a lot of these are put the way they want. Now, they can be effective, unfortunately, because the idea is let's make it look like all hope is lost and hope that the people who were for the candidate we want to lose don't come out and vote. I mean, they even do this on election night with the states that are in different time zones. They try to make it as if the election's over so people out west don't vote as much. I mean, we saw that with Gore and Bush, and fortunately it didn't work, but they tried to make it work. So, I think the most telling polls that we saw that maybe you could find something out of were after the first debate between Mr. Trump and Clinton. When it ended, as soon as it ended, every pundit told you Donald Trump got crushed. Now, I'm sitting there watching it, and I thought he was fine. I mean, there were issues I wish would have come up, and I think he should have hit her a little harder, which I think he's going to do Sunday, but I didn't think it was a terrible performance by any stretch. Meantime, you hear every talking head tell you how awful it was. You go to bed, and the next day you wake up at around noon, all the polls come in where they're actually just asking Americans who are watching it, and they all said Donald Trump won. So I think what people can take from that, and this is hopefully what's going on, is that the media and the left are doing the same tricks they did with Romney and McCain, but that this time, because Trump is calling them out, people aren't buying it.
I feel like the Democrats are the poster children for that quote that says the definition of insanity is doing something the same exact way and expecting a different result.
Mm-hmm.
So,
yeah, I mean, I guess. But, sometimes, Carla, unfortunately, the scariest part of it is I think some of them really don't expect different results. I think they just love it, the status quo, because they just live off of government. I mean, these people go to Washington and come out millionaires when they're making a modest salary as what they're supposed to be public servants. And, I've taught my kids who are 8 and 5 and huge Trumpkins like your children.
yes.
I taught them a very basic principle. When you're a public servant, that person works for us. We don't work for them. But that's been lost, especially over the last 8 years, where these entitled officials, from Obama to Congress to Democrats to Republicans, think that me, and I know what's best for you, whether it's your health care, your light bulbs, your toilet, your food. Don't drink a Pepsi, don't drink a Pepsi, I'll put you in jail. I mean, it's absolutely insane. And people, unfortunately, just sit back and say, well, Beyonce and Matt Damon like him, and I have fantasy football to play, so everything's fine.
Isn't that pathetic?
You got to wake up. And that's why your kids who are so young, so encouraging to see them out at a rally like they were. The other young ladies we met from teens to 20s to 30s who are out there and for Donald Trump, that really is encouraging, because you have to put a face to this somewhere. And when people see a bunch of old white guys, yeah, it's great, but you need to get everybody on board. And they are on board, but the media will never let you know that, because you think every person who is black, gay, a woman, a Jew, are all liberals. It's not true.
No.
However, the most powerful ones have microphones are.
Right, right. Kevin Scholla, thank you so much for joining me this morning. I hope that you'll join me again.
I would love that. It's a pleasure. Your show is great, and I hope people will check us out, mamagrizzlyradio.com, and you can follow along on Twitter at mamagrizzradio and at Kevin Scholla, Scholla. And I just would like to say to your audience, Carla, before I go, I just hope people will pray for Donald Trump, not just heading into Sunday's debate, but as we head toward November, because his heart's in the right place. The man he does not need this, okay? The guy is set financially. He doesn't need the threats toward him or his family. He's the reluctant leader that George Washington was, that we've seen from Governor Palin, that we've seen from so many great Americans. And I think as we keep spreading the word, we need to pray for him too. And I think that we're going to see some good things. I feel weirdly optimistic. So let's do this.
Absolutely. I think that we are going to get him into the White House. We really don't have any other options. And I think that he's going to get Pennsylvania. When's the last time that Pennsylvania went conservative? Was it Bush Sr.?
Yeah, I want to say Bush first term.
Right.
Well, he only had one term, so when Bush won, so 88.
Right.
I mean, that's a long time for a state that really, I mean, yes, Philadelphia, ultra-liberal, Pittsburgh, liberal, but in the middle, a lot of people say Pennsylvania is Alabama when you go from in between Pittsburgh to Philadelphia. Unfortunately, they have a huge amount of votes. They also have dead people and dogs voting.
Yes, they do.
And it doesn't help. But
criminals.
But, my goodness, if he wins Pennsylvania and or Nevada, you're looking at something really special. But I think that Trump thinks he can, because they sure are in the Keystone State a lot.
Yes. Every day someone is here representing them.
And all over, they're targeting everywhere. They're going, and unlike the Republicans of the past, not only are they in the suburbs and in the rural areas, they're in the inner cities. And I love that. And people say, well, what are you wasting your time? Are you kidding me?
Right.
Kidding me?
They need to go there.
People to be on board for Mr. Trump, and we need our friends in the inner cities to see that there's an alternative to, like you said, this same old that gets the same result.
Yes. I love what Diamond and Silk said when they started talking to all of us at the Lara Trump event this last week in Pennsylvania. They said that they are getting off of the Democratic plantation. They don't want to be slaves to the Democrats anymore. No one owns the minority vote. And Diamond and Silk happen to be African-American women who are on board with Trump. And it's because they see that he is offering every African-American way more than the Democrats have been able to offer in the last 8 years, if ever.
Yeah, it's hard enough for you and me to talk, but yeah, if you are black, if you are gay, if you are Jewish, if you don't fit that bill, they come down on you so hard. They bully you on social media, the names they call you. I had a guy on the show, Juan Hernandez. He's a gay Hispanic man. You probably remember him, maybe not by name, but you remember the Trump rally where the girl got egged?
Yes, I do.
He was the guy who got bloodied at that rally. They beat him up in the parking lot simply for wearing a Make America Great Again hat.
Yeah, they're animals. I often say that, I don't want to offend animals. They're even below animals.
That's right. I know. I look at Rex and I say, Rex, I don't mean you.
Right.
But these people, we don't, yeah. Oh, but if you say that, you're racist, even if you're talking about a white person.
I love when they call Ben Carson racist. Isn't that funny?
Listen, black cops are racist.
Right.
Carson's racist. Diamond and Silk are racist. Ellen West is racist. Mia Love is racist. I mean, the list goes on. And Omarosa, Katrina Pearson, Herschel Walker, Dennis Rodman. We could go on and on and on, naming black Americans who are voting for Donald Trump, and I guess they're all racist too, and I guess all the women that are voting for Trump are anti-women.
Right. You know, the other side, the best that they can do is name call, intimidate, and bully. And I teach my kids, and all the public schools are on this big train about anti-bullying. This is a bully-free zone.
Right.
What happens when our Democratic leaders and our establishment, GOP, are the epitome of bullies and name callers, and they have a mob mentality? They're a terrible, terrible model for every family and every child in the United States of America.
They're the number one bullies, and now that they have the cyber bullying to hide behind, they're worse than ever.
Yes.
But remember, when you're called dumb, that's the best compliment from the left or from the disingenuous, squishy middle, because that means they have nothing else on you.
Correct.
I mean, if you have Hillary, we never call her dumb. But Barack Obama, I couldn't stand it when Romney and McCain would say he's over his head. I didn't think that at all. He knew exactly what he was doing. He wanted to fundamentally change America, race bait, pit us against one another. And
that's what he's done.
So with Hillary, you have actual things that she has done. Again, I mean, the list, Benghazi, the servers, Whitewater, it goes on, covering up Juanita Broderick, on and on and on and on. But when they call Ronald Reagan or Dan Quayle or Sarah Palin or Donald Trump dumb, that's when you go, oh, wait a minute, this must be a guy they don't have anything on.
Yes, that's correct. Well, again, Kevin Scholla, thank you for joining us. I pray that you will check out his website. Go to mamagrizzlyradio.com. He's the host and creator of the Palin Update on Mama Grizzly Radio. He's had fabulous people like Rand Paul, Newt Gingrich, Rick Santorum, Michelle Bachmann, Ted Cruz. The list goes on. He also is a columnist for Breitbart. You definitely need to check him out at Twitter. Thanks again for joining us this morning.
We believe in God the Father. We believe in Jesus Christ. We believe in the Holy Spirit.